Welterweight's looking for a title shot on 28 days rest from his last fight in the co-main event of UFC 287. Gilbert Burns coming in over the top rope in an announcement by Dana White. He's going to be taking on, remember the name, Belal Muhammad, and the announcement was made on April 20th. Like, really short notice that this is going to be a 5-round co-main event. Not 3, 5. It's like Robbie Lawler, Nick Diaz. So get excited for it. But when you look at it, Matt, I mean, Gilbert Burns, the last 2 fights, he's been incredibly active in 2023. Starched Neil Magny, just absolutely finished him quickly, got that win, and then he goes out there against Masvidal. He strikes at the start of it, and then he really implemented his game plan, retired Masvidal in that matchup. So now Burns bringing a wave of success into this fight. And if you consider for Burns, think about the 5-on-in. He fights Usman, he doesn't go out there and win the title. Then he goes out there and gets a big win over Wonderboy, takes him down, rinse and repeat, just like Belal Muhammad did against Wonderboy. It wasn't a great fight. Then he goes out there and has an absolute fight of the year banger against Chimaev, takes a long time off, wins these fights. And if you listen to Muhammad, after he beats Masvidal, Joe Rogan's got him on the mic. His quotable was, and I go, man, I'm the only guy, maybe in the whole UFC that's willing to fight anyone at any time.
And I believe it.
And you're darn tootin' hair on the man, Gilbert Burns, with the hair and the bandana. He's got it going on. He's taking on Belal Muhammad. And Matt, people... Like,
I couldn't imagine being a police sketch artist and you're describing somebody. He's the man with the hair and the bandana. Oh, that narrows it down to nobody.
If you look at it for Belal Muhammad, I mean, it's a wild win streak. You look at that no contest that he has against Leon Edwards. It is what it is, but 8 wins in a row since 2019 when he lost to Jeff Neal. Belal Muhammad's kind of reinvented himself, and I know Burns is going to get all the shine, but you got to talk about Belal Muhammad.
Because, okay, when I initially saw this matchup, I thought, oh, Burns can knock him out and choke him out. End of discussion, right? We're done here. But that's the thing about Gilbert Burns. When he has the wrestling advantage in the matchup, he fights like one of the greatest fighters you've ever seen. Because he does have good striking, right? We've all seen how explosive he is. He has a great body kick from his southpaw position. The hooks are a little bit looping, but again, when you have the power that Gilbert Burns possesses, your hooks can loop a little bit. He has really good wrestling for being a guy with this jiu-jitsu base, because what did we talk about? We just talked about it with Chrome Gracie.
He beat Chrome Gracie in pure grappling?
A lot of people, well, he does have a huge size advantage over him too, to be fair, but a lot of people who do have very high-level jiu-jitsu backgrounds don't necessarily have the wrestling to go along with it, but Gilbert Burns, and Jacare Souza, I guess, too, but Gilbert Burns is one of the few who can really go out there and get his own takedown, be it with the double leg or the single leg, and he has good enough cardio to really work for some of those takedowns. But when Burns is at a wrestling disadvantage, it does force him to be that striker. And again, not that he's a bad striker, his striking is very good, but when Gilbert Burns is at his best, it's when he can threaten with the takedown. He likes to go for those almost Yoel-ish kind of grab the leg, kind of threaten the heel hook, or ankle pick, I should say, and then go for the body kick. He is an unorthodox fighter on the outside, but the thing that makes Burns special is those big bursts, right? For being a guy who used to fight at 155, he's a surprisingly good athlete at the welterweight division, but Belal Muhammad's the opposite of that, right? He's steady. He's going to work behind the jab. He's going to stay in your face, and that's the thing about Belal Muhammad that's a little bit different than Tyron Woodley, right? Because that was the fight I started thinking about, because Woodley fights like a lower output, more power version of Belal Muhammad, but Muhammad's going to be in your face. He's going to make you be really uncomfortable with his volume, whereas Woodley at that stage of his career wasn't necessarily fighting in that capacity. So I just think this is a really fun fight for both guys. I just have one question for you. Are you concerned at all about just like potential burnout that Gilbert Burns might have? Because I know he had a lot of success in his last 2 matchups, but at least for me, there's got to be something to be said for an overcommitment, right? Like 3 fights in 3 months is a lot to have at the top level of the welterweight division.
The guy wants that other title shot. This is what he needs to do. But I do worry about it a little bit, because with Belal Muhammad, I mean, numbers on a page, but 92% takedown defense, and if you pick and choose some of the fights, Damian Maia went 1 of 21 on takedown attempts. Sean Brady went 0 of 5, and once he couldn't get that takedown, he kind of felt the pressure. Belal Muhammad's boxing opened up, and all of a sudden, standing TKO victory. And so many people were bullish to Belal Muhammad beating Sean Brady, who was up on his rise. But when you look at a guy like Muhammad, again, I've talked about it every time, ever since that Diego Lima fight, when he started to box and box and box, it's gotten better. But when he's taking on guys to strike, well, he's taking them down like he did in the Wonderboy fight. In his rematch against Vicente Luque, mixing everything up and able to have a ton of success. The first fight, he got dropped and finished, and that's another big thing. Like, you talk about the fights where he's been dropped. Alan Jouban dropped him 3 times. Luque dropped him once. Jeff Neal dropped him twice. So, it is tricky. Now, again...
Leon Edwards had him hurt.
Jeff Neal is a southpaw. Leon Edwards is what? a southpaw. Alan Jouban's a southpaw. Gilbert Burns, an orthodox
To be
fighter
fair,
for the
though,
most part.
those guys all throw straight shots. Gilbert Burns does not throw straight shots at
No,
all.
and that is another thing. So again, when it comes to 5-round fights for these two guys, you look at it for a guy like Gilbert Burns. I mean, we're talking the Usman fight. He gets finished in the 3rd round. The fight against Tyron Woodley, performance bonus. That's a decision win in that
there.
one. If you do look at it for a guy like Belal Muhammad, 5-round fights. He fights Vicente Luque, unanimous decision. He fights Leon Edwards, no contest. And he fought Steve Carl in a 4th-round TKO win for that Titan FC championship. 2 of the 3 5-round fights that Belal Muhammad has had were either at or around, so training camp would have been during Ramadan, and that is wild to think of, and a credit to a guy like Belal Muhammad. But where the boxing's gotten better, do we see him box a lot in this fight, or do we see him go for the takedowns, that being Belal Muhammad?
Because it is weird. I'm always very skeptical when a pure wrestler does start to work on their boxing a lot, right? Because you don't want to get away from what made you special in the first place. I witnessed Johnny Hendricks with my own eyes, guys, okay? He was a great wrestler who got a couple knockouts and thought, hey, what if I just threw big power shots from this point on? But
Curtis Blades last weekend.
I do think Belal Muhammad's striking has reached the point, though, to where if you're a pure striker, you at least have to respect it, right? Because the wrestling is enough of a threat to where you're not going to be as comfortable. His cardio is at such a weapon now to where, hey, if you do start to fall off even a little bit, Belal Muhammad is going to sense that. And that's what happened in the Sean Brady fight, right? The second Sean Brady slowed down, it was like his power bar went from 100% to 98%, and Belal Muhammad jumped on him like a shark in the water. So I think this is going to be a tremendous fight. And it's weird because I worry about Gilbert Burns' cardio a little bit coming in on short notice in a 5-round atmosphere, but Burns and Muhammad are both 5-round fighters, right? You never really have to worry about them after the 3rd round, in the 4th and 5th round, because they're going to fight as the same version of themselves no matter what round the fight's in.
Burns open a -180 favorite, -135 right now. Muhammad open +140, +109 or 110. If we do consider this matchup again, Burns, he just continues with that active schedule. Belal Muhammad kind of waiting in the wings. Obviously very upset that Colby Covington's getting the next title shot. So it seems. We have a look at the Topology vote. Surprised to us there to you. I'm going to say over under 70% Burns, even though the odds are closing in apart.
I'm going to say under because I think they will be close to 50.
I think the fan... Oh, it's slightly under. 647 total votes. 64% Burns. 48% by decision. 34% by knockout. For the 36% that have Muhammad, 84% by decision. And again, Muhammad riding that win streak with that no contest to Stephen Thompson there. To Leon Edwards, not Stephen Thompson. He mopped for Stephen Thompson. When it comes to a matchup like this, Matt, it really is tough because numbers on a page, Gilbert Burns, I'd say, is the better striker. Although Muhammad's gotten better, Gilbert's the better striker. Offensive takedown-wise, pretty close. Jiu-jitsu, Gilbert Burns, because Muhammad's heavy on top, and he just rinses and repeats, and he just drags you into the deep waters, threatens with the ground and pound.
He has one submission, and it's against Takashi Sato.
Oh, old
Gilbert Burns could submit
a training partner of Gilbert Burns.
But just, Gilbert Burns could probably submit heavyweights. Like, I'm not even joking. In pure jiu-jitsu, that's how good he is. Like, he is truly a one of one when it comes to ground.
And I'm sure he has Vicente Luque in his ear trying to feed him instructions for this one, because they both have trained together at Killcliff and at Cejudo. When you're trying to make a pick on this one, I have a hard time with it. So what's your pick?
I do, because Gilbert Burns could win this fight from minute 1 to minute 25, I guess. That's how good of a finisher he is. He has great power. I do worry about him as the fight goes late, though, because when Burns gets tired, he still carries his power late, but the shots become a little bit slower and they do become more looping. Even though he had success later on against Chimaev, it was because Chimaev also got tired in that fight, right? And I don't think Belal Muhammad's going to suffer from that same thing. I'm not sitting here telling you Belal Muhammad's going to beat Khamzat Chimaev. I'm not. I'm just saying I don't think he's going to suffer from the same cardio detriment that Chimaev had. So I like that the odds are closing in. I think they'll probably be on par, if not close to par, by the time fight night comes around. But we're going to go with Belal Muhammad. He showed a lot to me in that second Vicente Luque fight. I know people thought that fight was stale, and it kind of was. It wasn't the greatest fight of all time.
Main event.
But you know what it did? It proved to me that Belal Muhammad can avoid the big shot and use his wrestling enough. Now, I don't think he is going to use his wrestling to the level that he did in the Luque fight, because Burns is, of course, much more dangerous on the mat. But Belal's going to be in his face, and I think that's going to make him really uncomfortable on the feet. So for those reasons, I'm going with Belal Muhammad.
I think Gilbert Burns is going to go out there and strike 6 ways to Sunday and try and put Belal Muhammad out to get himself over for that title shot, and that could cause him issues in this one. So it's going to come to a surprise. And Matt, if we get this one wrong, we are never going to hear the end of it. I know that's what's going to happen, but you let us know what you have in the comment section. I have Belal Muhammad in this one. I think the 5-round atmosphere favors him in this fight. and I will go with him in this one. The advancements in the striking, the takedown defense, if he can implement his own game plan, I think Remember the Name's got the win. So both of us going with Belal Muhammad. Shower us with the boo birds down below in the comment section. The main event is a big-time fight. Henry Cejudo coming off the big, long layoff. He's taking on Aljamain Sterling for the belt. You are not going to want to miss any of it. Keep it locked in with Fight Night Picks, we always say.
Let's get into it.